What's up, guys? This is Brave, and I'm back with another review of Tyler Perry's Sistas. This is season 5, episode 18. The episode is titled Friends Are Lovers, and let's get right into the review. So, you already know we're starting off with this fight between Zach and Aaron. Now, y'all, Tyler definitely let this fight go on for longer than I expected. Like, they was fighting for a cool minute. They completely trashed the place. And at one point, you have Aaron winning. The other point, you have Zach winning. Fatima actually gets there. The ladies are screaming because they want both of them to stop. Like, it was a lot happening. I will say that I was kind of annoyed that nobody stepped in sooner. Like, I understand there was a lot of women around, but what was Robin doing? I'm just like, why are you guarding Andy as if this fight is even coming this way? You are a grown man. You can try to help break this up, I guess, child. Because I forgot, nowadays people don't break fights up because no one wants to get hit accidentally, even though someone could actually die from being in a fight. Nonetheless, when the guys finally, break up, you have Fatima trying to calm Zach down. You have Andy yelling for them all to leave out the back door. And I'm just like, whew, this is a melee. Now, I don't know if y'all caught it, but when they were walking out, the owner, I guess, or the manager of the steam plant was like, I'm going to press charges or whatever. And when Angela was walking out, she told him to call her or whatever. Do y'all think that she might be having another love interest in season 2 of Zatima? Because I'm just like, maybe she's no longer with Bryce and she's going to have another storyline in Zatima, but we shall see. Nonetheless, y'all, why did the credits play and then we came back with Gary walking into the steam plant trying to get a seat and it looked like the place is closed? I said, what is this? I thought we were going to come back and get back right into the melee, see how everybody's feeling. No, we came back with Gary wanting a seat at a table, and then he ends up spotting Robin, and he is like, oh, I actually know somebody, so let me go ahead and go sit by him. And he's like, oh, what happened in here? So Robin is like, oh, it was a couple of people fighting in here or whatever. And he's like, oh, who was fighting? What? Tyler, figure out something else to write. Because it makes no sense for Gary to walk into a bar or a restaurant and ask Robin, of all people, who in the establishment was fighting, as if there are not people from all walks of life that could have been in the restaurant that night. Get a clue. And also, on top of that, why is Robin still here? Like, dude, all that melee just happened and you still out here sipping on that same drink? Goodbye. All right, now one thing that I will say about Robin is that he is a very smart man. I feel like he has figured it out that Gary probably has some type of GPS or something on Andy, because why would he randomly come here? And then while they're at the bar, you have Gary. He's so busy trying to throw it in Robin's face that he's the big man on campus, that is like, dude, you're letting the cat out the bag, that you're the one who's behind all this foolishness that's supposedly about to happen to Robin. Like, you saying these little snide remarks like, oh, you need to keep your money, I'll buy a drink for you, all that stuff. Baby, that's not going to help you in this situation, because little do you know, Robin has the money. And don't worry, Robin actually lets him know that he has the money, because Gary is doing all this boasting and bragging, talking about how he already knows that he's not going to have the money, all this stuff. And I'm just like, well, this is why you looking stupid right now, Gary. Because once Robin told him, like, oh, no, I have the money, it's in the business account. And after Robin said that, Gary knows that he was in trouble. So he luckily was able to go ahead and go to his seat because the waiter finally came or whatever. And first thing he had to do was call Hayden, because now they're in big trouble because they expected for Robin to not have the money. And I'm so glad that he did. So, like I said, Gary made the call to Hayden. Now, he's over here messing around with Tamara or whatever. And at first, he didn't even want to answer the call. So, he finally answers, and Gary tells him what's going on. And he's like, you need to figure out how does he have the money. And I'm just like, why are y'all acting like Robin is supposed to be so broke? Like, I mean, take out the fact that, Andy helps him with a connect or whatever. But, like, why are we expecting him to be so broke? And another thing that's not making any sense to me is how Hayden is saying that he can figure out where the money came from. How? How are you that invested in the company that you have access to the financial reports and you have access to the financial bank account of this business? Because last time I checked, he just works there. Like, he works at this firm. I don't understand how he's going to have that much access to know how much money is in the firm's bank account like that. You know what I'm saying? But nonetheless, let's keep it rolling. So now we have this scene with Hayden and Tamara. So basically, he wants her to stay. He is definitely falling for her. But she's like, no, I have to work or whatever. He's like, nah, you can just lay up with me and then tomorrow we'll find you another job. She's like, well, you don't even know what I'm qualified for. And he was like, okay, well, what can you do? And she's like, maybe I could be like a secretary or something. So basically, he's probably going to try to get her a job at the law firm. Now, hopefully, what's going to happen is that the case that Fatima wants Hayden to drop is going to come across her desk, and she's going to finagle her way into telling him to drop the case. That's what I'm going to assume is probably going to happen. Now, let's go ahead and move along. All right, so we are finally seeing some aftermath of this fight that went down between Zach and Aaron. And who do we see? Fatima and her friend Angela. They're in a car pulling up to Fatima's house, and Angela is just like, are you sure you want to stay here tonight? You can come stay by my house. He was really mad, all this stuff. And Fatima, of course, is going to go into the house. She's going to stick beside him because she clearly wants to have a conversation with Zach. Now, one thing that I wanted to point out is I'm trying to figure out what type of job did Angela have, because last time I checked, it looked like she was an assistant the same way Fatima was. So how's she driving a Range Rover, y'all? I'm just saying, that's real fancy. And it don't look like she has all the same connections that Fatima has as to why she has all the money to afford a Range Rover. But let's go ahead and get back to the story that's on, why we're here. Zach ends up pulling up and Fatima gets out so that they can have a conversation. Alright, so they go into the house, and the first thing that Fatima ends up asking him is, like, is he happy with himself? Is he happy that they had this fight? Like, what was that even about? And he's like, listen, I'm tired of Aaron always coming at me sideways. He's always jumping in my business, and he was over it. Now, according to Fatima, she feels like he was fighting Aaron because he's fighting over Karen. And I will say this, I think it's a little bit of both. I feel like Zach is definitely fighting Aaron because anytime he's trying to talk to Karen and Aaron is around, Aaron does butt in and say how he feels and how, Zach, you shouldn't do this. Zach, you can do that. Zach. He does continuously jump in when they're having these types of conversations when it comes to Karen and Zach. But at the same time, it's like, you should not get that angered by Aaron. Like, at this point, it's not even making any sense the way Zach is such a hothead. So now Zach says that he is fed up with everything because he feels like Karen brings drama to their door every day. And I can't agree. She does. Because according to the timeline with Tyler Perry, he does not even let days go by that they don't have some type of messy interaction with each other. Because keep in mind, just the night before was when Karen was acting up at their house getting mad because they were engaged. Like, let's not forget that. And then before that, it was whatever other drama that was happening. So, with these two being not Fatima, Karen and Zach, they're in constant conflict with each other because they see each other too much considering they are exes. Now, I will say, with Zach, he was explaining why he's very skeptical of this photo. I can't lie, I kind of agreed because at the end of the day, it was very strange for just the next day, you have Karen being extremely nice to him. Even though we already know it was one of Angela's friends who took the photo. It was very skeptical, so I understand why he's looking at Karen sideways. Now, I will say this. I appreciated Zach for calling Fatima out because as much as I like Fatima, let's be for real. Like, she has done some crazy things that could definitely land somebody in jail. I mean, the whole thing with what happened to Hayden, to what happened with the girl next door. Like, she does go off on the deep end when it comes to her emotions. Like, Tyler has definitely written it that both of them are hotheads. But like Zach said, she gets to get away with murder because, who her cousin is, as well as her not having a record is, at least that's what she's throwing in his face, that, well, I don't have a record. Yeah, but you probably should. And you probably would have had your cousin not done a lot of the shady, dirty work that you're behind. You know what I'm saying? So I did like the fact that Zach called her out about that. Because honestly, as much as I complain about Zach acting like a child and how he's all over the place with his emotions when he gets upset, but let's be for real, because when it comes to Fatima, baby girl only sees red when she's pissed off, and she's going to get her revenge. It doesn't matter how or when, but please know revenge is coming. So I'm not mad at Zach for calling her out on it. Now, she wants him to sleep on the couch, and he tells her, I'm about to sleep on the couch in my own house. Now, she's offended because now she feels like he's going to be throwing away the whole, it's mine, my house, my this, that, another. But I don't even think that's where he was coming from. I really think that he's like, listen, I'm going to bed upstairs. Like, what we're not going to do is this whole, when we're mad, somebody sleeping downstairs. But now you have Fatima, she's threatening to leave the house because, as we already know, she is a runner, she's a track star, and baby girl is trying to run away from the situation with Zach. And he calls her out on it yet again. He's like, why is it that every time we get into it, you want to run away from something? So her response was her throwing it back in Zach's face, all the things that he's done to her. To where he has all these baby mamas, how he was just back in the salon where he hooked up with Karen and now she done kissed the man. Like, she threw it back in his face. But I really want her to be honest with her emotions and just be like, Zach, all of this is hurting me and I'm not sure how much more of it I can handle. And then for Zach to go ahead and start screaming and hollering about how he didn't mess with this broad, that broad, he got to deal with everybody's shenanigans. I need for him to be able to understand you brought all this into this woman's life. Hell, you brought all this into your own life. Unfortunately, because we're on a Tyler Perry show, everything is happening days apart. Actually, hours apart. So I promise y'all, within the past probably 10 days of Zach and Fatima's love story, you have all types of crap coming at them on a daily basis. Honestly, at this point, I want them to take a break. I really do. Because Tyler keeps clobbering on more and more, which is what he does in a lot of his writing, especially when it comes to this show and the characters. Like, no one can breathe. Like, I feel like everyone is drowning on this show and there's no air. So I want them to take a break. Let them separate. And that is exactly what happened at the end of this scene, because they were going back and forth, hollering to the top of their lungs, and she actually ended up leaving. And I'm just like, you know what? Good. I want them to be separate for at least a couple of episodes, please. Like, I don't want this to be by the end of the episode, they're back together. No, thank you. We need like 3 or 4 episodes to go by, please. Nonetheless, let's go ahead and move on to the next scene. All right, so we are back at Karen's house. You have Aaron coming in as well as Andy. Now, Karen is like, what was going on? I'm not understanding what happened. And this is where Andy tells her there was a photo taken of you and Zach at the salon. And the first thing that Karen says is, oh, so you did know something. You knew about this. Ever since Fatima has come around, Karen feels like Andy does not know how to act. Now, Andy has to say, well, she has had my back. And I will say this, Fatima has definitely had Andy's back. But at some point, Karen had her back sometimes. But I just think that Fatima has had her back in ways that Karen would not be able to help her. You know what I'm saying? Like, Karen doesn't have someone like Madam in her back pocket that she can just reach out to and give you the contact info. Now, when it comes to their friendship, Andy says that she hasn't, you know, told this one the other one's information and vice versa. So she's trying to let Karen know that she has kept Fatima and Karen separate. And now, at one point, Andy is like, Aaron, don't you have anything to say about this? And before he can jump in, um, Karen is like, no, he has nothing to say about this. This is between me and you. I said, oh, see, I wish that you would do that when it comes to when you and Zach have conversations. Because I think that would have kept a lot of the drama down between Aaron and Zach. But nonetheless, baby, Andy was like, I'm going to call you when you calm down. And Karen was like, no, you're not, because we're done. She's fed up. Karen feels like Andy has put Fatima on a pedestal and she is not here for it. She feels like Andy has betrayed her. When it comes to their friendship, she chooses Fatima over Karen. And honestly, if we want to be for real, Andy has. Andy has definitely taken Fatima's side on some things when it comes to the drama between Karen and Fatima. Because Karen, you were acting irrational for multiple episodes, like the time that you showed up to Andy's job and was trying to fight Fatima at her job. Like, let's not act like Karen has not been acting a fool towards Fatima every chance that she got. So yeah, everybody's looking at Fatima like, dang, this girl ain't even, you haven't done anything to Karen for her to act like this towards you. So they see her as the underdog. So listen, Karen is like, get out of my house. Baby girl was so pissed off that she storms off to her room. And now you have Andy trying to have a conversation with Aaron. Like, what was that? Like, what is going on with her? And his whole point is, well, we just want her to stay calm because of the baby. When I tell you I'm so sick of that line, I am so sick of the line that Karen needs to stay so calm because of this baby. Because we have not seen Karen stay calm at all. It is very rare. So of course you have Andy go ahead and leaving. Now we jump on over to Sabrina and Danni. And Sabrina is like, I lost my job. Girl, we knew you lost your job when they put handcuffs on you. Now Danni is trying to be the supportive friend, like, girl, you gonna get your job back because you're innocent. And she's like, no, banking is different. And I'm just like, who gets their job back after they've been arrested from the place? Okay, Danni, use your brain. So they go on to talk about how, Sabrina has a savings account, but of course she was using that money that she was saving so that way she could buy a house. She's trying to figure out how her life got all topsy-turvy. And of course, Danni has to remind her it's because of Maurice. Now, instead of them talking about Danni's issues, they were going to possibly talk about Preston, she shuts that down and she actually wants to head out and go home. Here's my thing. You already know that in Tyler Perry's universe, Sabrina and Danni, they are very close. My thing is, why haven't we had them have like a sister to sister, heart to heart moment about what really is going on with Danni? Especially when it comes to her being attacked by Jonah. I am so pissed off that storyline is getting so swept under the rug and nobody's talking about it because we want to push this whole Danni and Preston thing to the forefront. I'm sorry, we have bigger emotions that need to be talked about, and Tyler has dropped the ball. Nonetheless, why do we have this storyline with Danni and Q? She literally gets out of Karen's apartment and she calls Q, tells him to come by her place. And I'm just like, okay, so what is this? Like, you are not dealing with what happened with Jonah. Then you go ahead and jump into all these emotions with Preston. You think messing around with Q is going to help you, girl? Absolutely not. But let's just go ahead and move on. Alright, so we have this conversation between Karen and Aaron. And she's concerned if he's hurt, because she didn't do anything when it came to, Zach. And he's like, yeah, I know, Karen, everything's okay. And I just really want Aaron to be for real at some point and be like, Karen, this is not okay. What is this picture that they're talking about? What is going on? What happened at the salon to make him this angry with you? Like, I'm tired of Aaron being the extreme nice guy to where Karen can get away with murder and he's okay with it. Like, come on now. And I'm not saying that Karen was wrong in this situation. I'm just saying, like, Why is he not concerned about what actually happened between Zach and Karen for Zach to react in that way? Alright, so Karen has realized that maybe she should apologize to Andy or whatever, and Aaron agrees. Now, he does have to, let her know that there has just been a lot of things going on. So, of course, your emotions are built up. And I must agree, there has been a lot going on for Karen. It's like right when she decides, oh, I'm going to be nice, I'm going to let bygones be bygones, she's dragged right back down to the mess when it comes to her and Zach. All right, so she realizes that she's going to call Andy in the morning, and then she also realizes that she didn't get the video from Pam. So she calls Pam, like, hey, you didn't send me the video. And Pam tells her that she is still at the salon because somebody is still with a client. And also, you already know the streets be talking, and Pam already knows that something went down at the steam plant. And I just want to know, who is the streets that Pam knows? Because baby, Pam always knows what's going on. Nonetheless, she says she's going to send Karen a video when everything's, done at the salon, and they get off the phone. All right, now let's slide on over to Andy. She ends up answering a phone call, and who is it from? Fatima. Now, Fatima is telling her how, Zach is pissed off. She's going to go stay at a hotel. And Andy is like, no, girl, come stay in my house. I have 3 extra rooms. Like, it's all good. So Fatima agrees that she's going to come stay over there. Now, I forgot to mention that when we saw Andy, she was telling the concierge to let a guy up. And who is it? It's Robin. So Robin comes through and he tells her about how he saw Gary at the steam plant. And she is like, oh, let me find out that, Gary's following me. And how she wouldn't put it past him to be following her. Now, you have Robin there, like, and you think that's okay? Because it sounds crazy. Like, the idea of you saying, let me find out that he's following me, that insinuates that, wait, this man is tracking me. Like, he has a GPS on me, knowing everywhere that I go. And then for you to say, I wouldn't put it past him, that sounds like multiple red flags, and I mean multiple. Yet you're still willing to deal with Gary just so that you can keep a fancy apartment. That is crazy. So he ends up telling her about how when he spoke to Gary, he told him that he had the money. And she's like, was that wise for you to do? And he's like, I mean, I do have the money in the account. Like, I don't see what the problem is. And she's like, well, Gary can be very conniving. And I'm just like, and that's the man that you laid up with? Like, I'm sorry. It is so strange to me for Robin to have conversations with Andy as if they are the best of friends and as if they are best buddies while her man is plotting on him. Like, do you see how crazy that sounds? Like, if anything, I feel like Robin should be distancing himself from Andy. Like, for real, for real. So he ends up telling her that that was the whole reason why he showed up and now he about to leave. I said, so what you show up for? Just so you can tell her, ooh, I got Gary. You could have told her that in the morning at the office. Good day, sir. Oh, and now we have to come over to Danni. And I'm like, oh God, here we go. So Danny's at her apartment. Next thing you know, there's a knock at the door. Who is it? It's Q. As if we're excited. No, we're not. Q comes strolling in. He's like, oh yeah, your place is nice. The only reason why this man is even saying that your place is nice is because he's about to move in while you about to be standing on the outside probably. Nonetheless, they have this conversation where he is asking her what makes her not trust men. And I'm just like, I feel like there's a list of reasons and we're never going to get to the bottom of it. It'll be very strange for Danny to have a very deep conversation with you, Q. We just met you. She hasn't even had a deep conversation with Preston, and she was dating him. Now here goes Q. He's like, well, I'm going to make you trust me. And she's like, well, how are you going to do that? And he starts taking his clothes off. I said, oh, he's about to hit her with the same thing that he hit Maurice with. I'm going to go ahead and take my clothes off, let you see my body, let you want me. Then you're going to want to smash. And then once he's smashed, he's in there, okay? He has moved in. He's about to solidify his address, y'all. And honestly, what pissed me off about this scene is that Danni had no reaction to like the trauma that she has just been through. And I'm not saying that she had to like cry and scream and throw a fit. I'm not even saying that. But she literally just got through a terrible situation with Jonah. And now you have another man who you hardly know taking his clothes off in front of you. I feel like she would feel very uncomfortable, especially considering she would not even let Preston like really touch her like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sorry, I hate the way this storyline is written because I feel like we could have gotten so much if we could have seen Danni actually live through that pain and try to figure out her way through that trauma of what happened with Jonah. But now we have this foolishness to where we're gonna have her be a sexual deviant because of what happened with Jonah. So now she thinks she can just mess around with Q. Like, make that make sense, Tyler Perry. And then on top of that, we're probably gonna sit up here and blame it on the fact that she was going through things with Preston. And I'm just like, no, no. Baby girl is hurting. And this is a hurt that is more than the foolishness of Preston going back and forth with her. Now let me get back to the storyline. So they are going back and forth or whatever, Loki kind of joking, and he's like, "Oh well, I'm about to go get into the bed," and she's like, "Not in my bed." Now this man said, "I've showered before I left work." Girl, I mean, I don't know how the airport is set up to where they have showers for the workers to, bathe there. But girl, you didn't catch what he just said? That sounds like homelessness to me if the man is showering at work. So this man is clearly trying to get into her pants. And at one point she's like, no, no, can't do it. And I'm just like, yeah, let's thrive on that emotion for her to be able to put him out of her house. How about that? But no, that's not what we got. We have Q on his knees saying how he's so vulnerable right now. And at this point, I am over this scene. Well, actually, I was over it when it started, but I'm really done with it now. Especially for us to end off with this scene of her asking him if he had condoms, and of course, he does. At this point, I'm just like, you know what? Just throw the whole Danni storyline away for me. Please throw it away because I'm not interested anymore. Alright, y'all, we gonna hop on over to Maurice. Of course, he is still in jail, but now he has a roomie. So there is a new guy who has moved into Maurice's cell. And he's, trying to make small talk, I guess, and low-key trying to flirt with Maurice. And Maurice is not going for it, okay? Because the guy asked Maurice, what's he in jail for? He's like, oh, I'm in jail for being a diva. Why are you here? So the guy's like, oh, well, the prosecutor, he wants me to, flip on one of my friends, and that's not what I'm here to do, or whatever. And Maurice is like, that's pretty interesting, or whatever. So now Maurice thinks that this man is probably an informant for the prosecutor because why would we have such similar situations? Also, he's not the only prosecutor, I'm pretty sure. It's very random that this man would even be put into Maurice's cell. Like, come on now. So Maurice, he's ready to shut this conversation down. And the guy's like, well, I just want to talk to somebody. I've been in here for a year or whatever. And Maurice asks him, so for real, like, what are you in here for? And he's like, oh, I'm in here for bank fraud. And I'm just like, I'm not sure if the jail would really put two people together who are in prison for similar situations. But nonetheless, let's keep this storyline going. Alright, so Fatima actually shows up to Andy's place. Now, Fatima starts off saying how, she doesn't want to get in between Andy and Karen's relationship. And Andy is like, well, you already have. Which I'm just like, at least she didn't lie about it. You have definitely gotten in the middle of their friendship, but it didn't have to be this way. Because if we really want to call a thing out, I would say Karen kind of brought this on herself. Because she was being unnecessarily mean to Fatima on multiple occasions. And I feel like that kind of pushed Andy to see Fatima's side of a lot of the situations. So now you have Fatima asking, like, oh my gosh, what happened? What happened? And Andy doesn't tell her. She's like, don't even worry about that. Just know that you're going to stay here. I have everything that you may need or whatever. So you're going to be good. So Andy ends up asking Fatima, like, what went down between her and Zach, because that's the whole reason why Fatima's even at her house. So, you have Fatima letting her know that they got into a really big fight and she wanted Zach to sleep on the couch. But as we already know, Zach was like, I'm not sleeping on the couch in my own house. She took it as him yelling out my things. But I don't even think that's the energy that he had, to be honest. So, of course, Fatima said that she had to walk, and Andy is agreeing with her 100% of the way. Now, Fatima does say that she's going to go back to her apartment, and I'm like, okay, it's cool to know that she did not sell her apartment, because as you guys already know, I want to say that was a part of the Zatima storyline, that Zach wanted her to sell her place because she was going to be moving in with him. Glad she didn't sell it. Nonetheless, you have Andy asking her, like, was the fight really that serious? And she's like, yes, it was very serious. And then Andy realizes that Fatima actually took her ring off. And Fatima's like, yeah, I left it on the kitchen counter and I'm not playing with him. So Andy is, of course, trying to be the supportive friend. And she tells Fatima, you cannot let Karen get in between you and Zach. Now, y'all, with perfect timing, the bell goes off for the elevator, and Karen is like, yeah, don't let me get in between you and Zach. And I'm like, now, how'd you hear that from in the elevator, girl? Like, usually elevator doors, they pretty thick, and you cannot really hear what's going on outside of them. But only in Tyler Perry's world. Now, y'all, that is where the episode left off. And I'm going to be honest, I thought that we were going to get more of that scene because that's what they advertised on the last week's preview for the next week. But we shall see what happens next week. Now, according to the previews, y'all, why did they have Sabrina sniffing Danny's nasty sheets, talking about some who was that? Girl, so you mean to tell me that y'all gonna have this woman identify Q by the scent of this man? Goodbye, Tyler. Goodbye. Nonetheless, y'all, let me know what y'all thought about this episode. Overall, I will say this episode definitely kept my attention, but there were some things that were questionable. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Let me know what y'all thought about this episode for real, and I'm gonna talk to y'all in the next one. Bye, guys.